And now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Hello and welcome back to your RBLR Rays show. I am your host, Pat Davenport.
I'm very technologically advanced.
And this is what happens when we do a live podcast. I am your host, Pat Davenport, and I am joined by my co-host, Zach Dabb. Zach, how are you doing? It feels so weird to ask you how you're doing.
I am doing fantastic. My mic is no longer muted. I feel great. My voice is back. I feel fantastic. How are you, Pat?
I'm doing just swell. I'm doing okay. I feel like I'm in mid-season form now. I feel like we've had like 9 games of the baseball season. We're just like rolling along now, which is brilliant. I love watching baseball, but I'm sure we have some concerning things that we need to talk about because the Rays are not 9-0 like they were at this stage last season. Surely that means we need to dissect things. We need to hit the panic button. Surely this is a whole reflection on the team, right? We got to panic.
I mean, maybe. I mean, hey, it's 1 week of Rays baseball is in the books. 2 series are down, and we've got another one wrapping up today. We're going to have thoughts on all of that, the baseball played and the baseball to come, and the question of the hour. Should you be panicking? We'll talk about it. I think you may already know our answer. We'll talk about it anyway. We're going to have Bat and Arms and players to watch on deck as well. And if you are watching us on YouTube, thank you for doing so. Wherever you're watching this from, we really appreciate it. And if you are not following us already, now is the time to do so. That's how you find out when we're going live, when we're doing cool stuff like this. Following us on all the socials, the Twitter, Instagram, even though I'm not over there, YouTube, all those places. Follow us. That is how you're going to find out when we're going live, when you're going to be a part of these shows where you can throw out your input and just be a part of what we're doing here together. We appreciate you being here. Drop us a follow, drop us a like. Really helps us a lot. So let's just get right into it. I think there's no need to beat around the bush. Should we be panicking, Pat?
No. Okay, that's it, everyone. Thank you for tuning into your RBLR.
Let's roll the outro music. Yep.
Yeah. So, no, I don't think we should be panicking. Yeah, I think it's completely fine to be a little underwhelmed with how the team has been performing lately, considering how well we started last year. And being 4-5 under 500 at this point is also, it's not quite where you'd want to be. Ideally, you'd prefer to have the Yankees record. But I don't think it's a time to go, oh my gosh, we've played 9 games. That's enough to make a judgment on a baseball team. And we can say that about any baseball team in the league. Even the A's, you could say, hey, listen, we can't even draw up trends on what's happening in Oakland yet. Like, we expected them to be bad, and they are bad, but you still can't really pinpoint as to, completely why yet, because it's been 9 games. So we just got to, hold up and let's take a look at things a bit more objectively, take the emotion out of things, and go from there. I understand why we're all a bit upset with how things have started. I think this Colorado series in particular has just been a complete what the heck is going on. But let's slow down. Let's take a look at what the Rays are doing or what they're not doing and see if we can draw any kind of ideas towards future performance based on what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, I don't think you can boil down why a team wins or loses just to one statistic, but I think there is one that's a pretty good indicator of that, and that is walks given. And the reason why I bring that up specifically is because this is something we've talked about it before in the podcast. The Rays as an organization have a philosophy of not giving guys free passes. It is something they have made their identity. Over the last 3 seasons, they lead all of baseball in walks per 9 allowed, with the lowest. With 2.61 walks per 9 allowed over the last 3 years. In each of those years, they were top 3. If they weren't number 1, they were top 3. So that is their identity as an organization. Right now, they are near the bottom. They were yesterday. They were at the bottom. The relievers had a 11 walks per 9 allowed before yesterday's games. They cut that down a little bit. But that's what we were seeing. And I think if you look at a team that is playing poorly and you go, why? Which is what you should do when something that you didn't expect to happen is happening. You shouldn't just, complain that it is happening. You should look at it and say, why is this happening? And you go and you see something that is clearly outside the norm of how the team normally operates or how this process is normally operating, then I think it's, pretty clear that may have a consistently, high factor of being the reason why this is happening. So the Rays as an organization do not walk guys. They are walking guys a lot. 2 things about that. Obviously, it's not what we expect, but also it is not likely to continue because if we were going into the year and we said, hey, the Rays are kind of high in walks per 9. They've kind of consistently been up near the bottom of that leaderboard. We don't like that. It's something we'd like to see them work on. And then we get into the season and we get the results we've gotten and they're walking guys. What I would say to you is, this isn't great. It's too soon to make any any concrete statements, but this is not a good sign because it is something we said was a problem, and it is now being shown to be a problem. This is the opposite of that. This is something when we came into the season, we said this is something you can bank on. They're not going to walk guys, and now they're walking guys. And if you actually watch the games, there was at least 1 inning from Clevenger which, by the way, he got out of without allowing any runs. He walked 3 guys in a row, and you could just tell he was not there. He was opening his shoulder up. We talked about it during the first. I think it was the first or second game of the season. This happened. So there have been innings like that for a lot of our relievers and some of our starters as well. Mostly the relievers. The bullpen's been rough. They've had a rough time with walks. But if you look at all the evidence of the last, 3+ years of Rays baseball, it would tell you this is not something that's going to continue. And when you get back to what we expect, I believe the results are going to start to come back towards what we might expect from a win-loss perspective. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, Pat.
I do agree. I do agree that the walks are uncharacteristic, and I also have faith that Kyle Snyder and the pitching staff are gonna find a way to correct that really quickly. Because if there's one thing that Snyder and co have a reputation for is building up command amongst their pitchers. They're so much better than league average at getting players to find repeatable mechanics that allow them to find the zone more. And also, they even set up their catchers right down the middle most of the time and go, listen, aim down the middle, your stuff will do the rest. Something that I find interesting and have been thinking about is this Rays team is probably the least stuff dependent a Rays team has been in quite some time. I think without Glasnow, McClanahan's not on the team. The Fireballers in the bullpen. We don't have many apart from like Fairbanks, really. So I think this is the least stuff dependent and the least velocity dependent Rays pitching staff we have seen in quite some time. And I've said this before, that when you've not got the high end of stuff, that makes your margin for error smaller, because a fastball at 99 down the middle is less likely to get barreled than a fastball at 92 down the middle. And so if we're playing with a staff that is not as dependent on velocity as before, then the command becomes even more important. And I think that has snowballed with the lack of command that we are seeing amongst the team right now. So it's a nasty combination, I think, but I do trust the team to sort it out. If we're talking next week or in 2 weeks' time about the same problem, then I think that's like a real cause for concern. But the Rays went through this phase last year in May. Everyone was complaining about how volatile the bullpen was and how ineffective the bullpen was. And that was in May.
Yeah.
And they sorted it out. It was like a blip in a 2-week season. But I remember it was a big talking point this time last year. And it got sorted out real quick. So the Rays are really good at spotting what's going wrong with their team and course correcting quite quickly. So I trust the Rays to sort it out in the next week or two. And I think particularly the series in Colorado is just a little bit of a like, hey, this is going to be a crazy series. The winds are blowing at 40 miles an hour. It's like the wind chill is minus 20 degrees or whatever. It's like, it's hard to throw a baseball when your fingers are numb. So that's probably why Pete Fairbanks exploded or imploded or whatever you want to call it. In the first game against the Rockies, he has that condition where he can't pitch in the cold. You could argue it was odd of Kevin Cash to put him in there. We're getting a couple of comments here. It hasn't been a month after opening week. Too early to concern still. I agree. We agree. I think we're going to get along just fine. So let's just give it a week. Give it a couple of weeks. If the command is still all over the place, then we've got cause for concern. But there are still places where the pitching has been excellent, and I think our rotation, the first 3 of our rotation guys we're really depending on, has really turned the corner to start the year. I mean, we're going to talk about it with our arms of the week, but Eflin, Savali, Littell, all really dependable guys that I've been nothing but impressed with so far. I mean, while the bullpen has been a bit like we can't depend on them right now, how do you feel about the rotation at least?
So I feel really, really good about the rotation. And one of the things I was going to bring up, you make a really good point about how stuff can kind of mask lack of command. The really interesting thing, if you look at the way the Rays pitching staff from the starting perspective have performed so far, the guy with the best stuff on the staff has had probably the worst start of the year with Pepiot, where he was really good for the middle 4. I'm going to talk about that later. Really good for the middle 4, but the first in the last inning, he was not very good. So it's really interesting because I agree with you. I agree with you generally that stuff is a good way. It can mask poor command. But at the same time, as a fan, you may think, okay, then why did we get rid of all of our guys who have really, really good stuff? Well, it's because we also believe the Rays believe in command and believe in pitch mix and location and all those things can also be just as valuable as stuff. And that's what we're seeing from the starters. Littell has been, I mean, everything we could have asked for so far, we've gotten from Littell. Savali is making Pat look really good so far this year. Eflin had a great bounce back start. We're going to talk about Alexander and Waguespack, that little experiment. We're going to get to that. That's maybe not going the way we might have liked it to go. But all in all, the starting rotation is not the issue. And the other thing that's really not the issue, and I feel like it's being talked about as an issue, is the bats. Despite what you may have, seen or felt, the Rays are number 8 in baseball in WRC plus to start the year. And I would argue that almost every Rays fan out there would say we have not played at the level we would like to offensively. And we are still top 10 in WRC plus as a team. So this is why to begin the year, I had so much confidence in talking about how good this team is going to be, and why I have so much confidence in talking about the Rays playing the way out of these struggles. We saw it last night. The Rays are just a really well-constructed team. There are no real holes. Nobody's going to be amazing every single time out. But the way this team is constructed, they can always win a game. I don't really ever think they're out of a game. The last 2 games we watched, if you believe the Rays are ever out of a game, I just direct you to the first 2 games of this Colorado series, where even in a game we didn't win, we came back from a huge deficit. So just as you're watching these games, as you're feeling these feelings, which are totally valid, because it's frustrating to watch your team lose. I hate watching my team lose. It ruins the rest of my day when the team loses. Yeah. Believe me. But if you're gonna go and make a grand statement about the quality of the team, I would just suggest to you to take a little time and think about it from the perspective of, is what I'm saying based on a sample size that is worthy of the gravity of the statement I'm going to make. Meaning, am I making a statement about the quality of the team as a whole based on a 1-game sample size? And do I really think that is a worthy way to judge a team? And if you feel that way, I kind of disagree with you, because I think any of us out there who have a job, if you were being judged off the percentage of the performance of your job that you are judging the Rays off of, and you would feel like that's pretty unfair. Even just the first 2 weeks of the season so far, the first 8 games, would equivalent to about 2 weeks of a 52-week job that you have. If you were being judged off of 2 weeks at your job, and that was going to be the way that they were going to project you out as what you can do and what your potential is, and how good we think your boss thinks you are at your job based on only 2 weeks of performance, I don't think you would like that very much. And I just don't think it's fair to do that about the Rays either. But I think, Pat, you're 100% right. If we do get a month in and we feel the same way, and we're seeing the same things from the Rays we're seeing right now, that does change the tune a little bit, but we're just not there yet.
Yeah, and I think, Carter, a friend, frequent co-host of this podcast and also full-time host of The Buck Show. We love Carter, RBLR legend. He put it in a really good way. He said, if we were judging this baseball season so far in comparison to an NFL season, I think he said this 7 games in. He said 7 games of a baseball season is roughly equivalent to the first drive of an NFL season. Imagine if you judged the Bucks after the first drive of the first game and you said, "Yeah, this team's cooked," because they got a 3 and out in the first drive. You'd be like, "Whoa, hold down there, Buster." So we got to just remember this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Now, to address some points about the offense, there's 2 things I want to bring up. The first one is I saw a lot of arguments about how this team is super dependent on their big 4, and then the rest is like a black hole. And the big 4 being Paredes, Arozarena, Yandy Diaz, and Brandon Lau. Since we last talked, which is a small sample size, I'll give you that, okay? But since we last talked, let's talk about how the big 4 have done. 13 players, all 13 players on the Rays position player core have had at least an at-bat. Brandon Lau is currently dead last in WRC plus since we last talked. Randy Arozarena, 7th, completely middle of the pack. Yandy Diaz, 10th out of the 13 players, had a good opening day, has not done that much since. Okay, he's got a current 64 WRC plus since the last podcast episode. Isaac, he leads the team. He's doing a great job. We'll talk about that later. But the other 3 of the big 4 bottom half of the team in offensive production. Let's talk about the typical 5 through 9 hitters. Richie Palacios, 157 WRC plus. Harold Ramirez, 120 WRC plus. Jose Siri, 165 WRC plus. Ben Rotvet, 158 WRC plus. I could go on. This is not a team. Even Caballero has a 95, so he's just below league average. So there's no, and if your worst hitter of your 5 through 9 is 95 WRC plus, like that's pretty good. That's pretty good, especially when he's contributing really great defense at a premium position. So let's halt that argument there that this team is depending on the 1 through 4 guys to produce. I mean, sure, the long-term season success of this team will require those 4 guys to produce, but it's not like we get to the bottom half of the lineup and we say, all right, we'll wait till next inning, I suppose, when Yandy comes up again. That's not how it's going. Ben Rotvat's been having the best at bats of the team this year so far, and Jose Siri has a 429 on base percentage, which is also hilarious, by the way, because he's got a higher on base than he does his slugging at the moment because he's taking loads of walks. But this team has no black holes in its lineup. I am so adamant on this fact that we need to calm down about black holes in the lineup. We don't have them. The worst hitter we have is about league average, maybe just below. I'm telling you, apart from maybe Shenton. Okay? And then the other thing that I love that we're doing is our quality of at-bats. Okay? We are currently 3rd in the American League in pitches per plate appearance. We are seeing a ton of pitches per at-bat. Okay, we are seeing 4.04 pitches per plate appearance. We are behind only the Angels and Yankees in the American League. Okay, and both of those teams are doing really well. So the process is there. We're taking a lot of walks. Something that we are going to need to kind of come to terms with on this team is there is a lot of swing and miss in this team, which can be a frustrating watch. I'm the first to admit that. There is a lot of swing and miss in this team. Our contact percentage is fairly low compared to the rest of the league. And we are a swing-happy team as well, which is strange because that doesn't always align with the pitches per plate appearance. But we have a lot of swing and miss. We're not afraid to go after pitches. But the quality of our at-bats is really, really good. And that, over a whole season, will translate to good results because the more pitches you see, the more likely you are to take your walks, and also the more likely you are to get a mistake pitch or a pitch that is hittable. So the Rays are hanging in there. They don't give up. They're grinding stuff out, and they are being a headache for pitchers, which is just what I was saying last week that the Rays need to do to be effective, and that is what is happening. It's just right now... it's not yielding entirely into results, but it's not like like you said, we're not awful. Our runs per game is like fine. It's like middle of the pack. It's just the bullpen, I think.
Yeah, and when you look at all we just talked about with the offense, this is all without one of maybe the most important hitters on the team not available with Josh Lowe. And not just from the perspective of how good he is as a hitter, but it being a lefty bat is super important to this lineup right now. Because if you wanted to pick a black hole in this lineup right now, you probably could pick Shenton if you really wanted to. He's not been that great. But hasn't even gotten that many opportunities, so it's not even really fair to judge him. But again, even if we're going to give you that one, that black hole is going to go away as soon as Josh Lowe gets healthy. And it may even go away if Arana gets healthy first. Arana might come up and take that spot. So, and I think we both think that Arana is going to probably put together better at-bats than Shenton's going to, even giving Shenton some credit. So that's kind of why we're not concerned. It's not that we can't see that things are not going great in the games that are being played. They're not. It's not awesome that we are currently below 500. That's not awesome. We don't like that. It's not awesome that our series record is split, loss, and we are hoping to win the series today. This is not exactly what we're looking for. But again, context matters. We have played 2 postseason teams, including the last year's World Series champion, and we are currently on the road in the most wild and weird stadium in baseball, west of the Trop. It's a crazy place to play baseball. You've just seen it. You see when balls go in the air, you've got 4 guys staring, looking up, hoping that maybe it's going to blow towards one of them. There's been several times when the cameramen have been completely deked on fly balls. There's one where they were focusing in on, like, I think either Rosario or someone over on the right side of the infield, and it landed in like Yandy's glove or whatever. I mean, it's a complete nonsense up there. So all that being said, we're 1 game below 500, and if we win today, we're back to 500. And I honestly think if you told most teams, hey, you're going to be without one of your cornerstone bats to start the season, you're going to play 2 really good teams and play in one really weird ballpark, and you're going to go 500, you may not be happy with it, but you'd say, all right, whatever. Let's get the guys back healthy and keep going. And that's where we're at. That's where we're at. It's not 13-0, but it is not like last in the division, which is what it looks like on paper right now, but that's not going to extrapolate out to the rest of the season.
Exactly. Let's not panic right now. I think, like I said, if we're 6 weeks in and we're still kind of playing like just below 500 kind of baseball, then we need to give a further examination. But for now, I'm just chilling. This is going to be a weird game today, probably against the Rockies.
100%.
I don't know which way it's going to go. Pepio might shove, or he might get shelled again. And if he gets shelled, I'm still not going to make a judgment call on him because his stuff plays weird because it'll be in Coors, and Coors, it suppresses movement of pitches. Like, there's a reason why pitchers hate going there. It's because the ball travels different out of their hand in the weird air quality. So like it's just like any series at Coors is like
it's a wash.
Yeah, just play the games and see what happens. I mean, both of these games have been crazy, and the third one is going to be crazy as well. I don't expect it to be low scoring. Commentator's curse means it'll be a 1-0 finish, but yeah, it's going to be crazy. Shall I tell you something I love about this current Rays team?
Please do.
It is the stolen bases. We are stealing a lot of bases. We currently lead the league in stolen bases as a team. We're currently stealing 1.78 stolen bases per game. Almost 2 stolen bases a game, and we have an 88% success rate on our steal attempts as well. Most of that is Jose Siri just like, I'm going to walk, and then I'm going to steal second, and then I'm going to steal third, and I'm going to do that every time. But Caballero can steal. Like, we're just a really fast team with some aggressive base runners. So I'm loving that. Let's keep taking advantage of that. I just want to keep watching that happen. I don't have much analysis on that other than the difference between first base and second base is about a third of a run, expected runs in an inning. So, like, let's keep doing that. Let's keep, putting the odds in our favor, use the tools that this team has to our advantage, and keep generating runs the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, it's crazy to look at Siri because he's stolen 6 bases so far this year. 50% of his stolen base total for all of last year, he has eclipsed by game 9. It is very, very clear that he's making a concerted effort to try to get on base, steal more bases, because he can be incredibly effective that way. I am interested to see what that means for his power numbers over the course of a full season. He's hit 1 home run so far. He could certainly still hit 20 home runs. I will be curious to see if he maybe hits fewer home runs than last year, but provides more offensive value through his base running and getting on base. It'd be very interesting to see how that develops. It's something that we talked about a lot, or I talked about, or either to myself or to the 1 or 2 Rays fans I knew, about Kevin Kiermaier when he was with the team, is if he would just stop swinging out of his shoes, because he did that a lot, he would just stop swinging out of his shoes and try to get on base and use his speed, he could be really valuable. It kind of seems like Jose Siri has gotten that message and is like, okay, let me, I'm still going to swing hard, because, I mean, you will never confuse Jose Siri for someone who doesn't swing hard almost every single time. But he knows how to get on base and how to use his speed to produce runs. So that's just really fun to watch. It's fun to watch fast guys.
Yeah, always the funnest players. I think that's why everyone got upset when Esteury Ruiz got sent down for the A's, because even though he hasn't been like great, he stole like 70 bases last year, and everyone was like, stolen bases are fun. I want to see the guy steal, I want this guy to be the new Ricky Henderson or whatever. So We like watching fast guys. It's why baseball made the rule changes. It's fun to watch stolen bases, but it's also useful for your team if you can do it at an exceptional rate, like the Rays are currently doing. 88% chance to gain an extra base. You'll do that every time.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. So I hope we have sated a few of your fears and your concerns about the Rays, but we do still need to talk about what has happened, even though we think that judging the team based on the results is a little unfair. They still did happen. So going back to the beginning of this week with Toronto, we finished that series out, split the series 2-2. Did you have any big takeaways from that series?
The Blue Jays, I still really dislike them. Anyone that follows me on Twitter, and if you don't, maybe you should, Depressed Rays. I ended up getting pretty heated. I think me on the podcast and me on Twitter are very different people. I'm very emotional on Twitter, and basically there was the kind of fracas between Cabby and Genesis Cabrera, where Caballero bunted in a run and then got thrown out going to third, and then him and Cabrera got into it a little bit and got shoved in the face. Cabrera got suspended 3 games, and it was a whole bench clearing incident. From what I don't have the full story, I couldn't tell you, but it just kind of looked like Cabrera was mad that Caballero just like bunted to get a run in, and he was like, "Oh, you go." I don't know. It must have been something more than that, but Caballero just seems to do this thing where he annoys people. And you know what? That's fine. I think I would hate him if he wasn't on our team, but because he's on our team, he's like a little scrappy guy that'll annoy you, but he's our little scrappy guy that'll annoy you.
Yes.
So keep doing that.
Yeah, he's fun to watch. I'm very excited for the first series we play the Yankees because he's got a bit of a history with Garrett Cole. So I'm very excited to see that. Really looking forward to that. The Toronto series, I would have liked to get a series win, but again, it is a 4-game series. 4-game series are weird. The one thing that I am watching really closely, and I always was going to be watching it closely, but this the Alexander experiment that we are currently going under. They tried something where they started Armstrong to start the game. That did not work out. And then brought in Alexander. He was kind of like whatever. He wasn't amazing, but he was just kind of fine. He has since started one more game since then, and was once again just kind of like whatever. He was just kind of fine. I am curious to see what they end up doing. And it's if he was just blowing doors off, I would say as soon as guys get healthy, like Taj and Baz, like, well, hey, man, we got to talk about this. This guy's really, really good. So far, he's just been kind of okay, which, again, for a 5th starter is really not that at the end of the world. But it does make me wonder how they view him on this team when you start to get guys healthy. Waguespack has just kind of not been great to start the year. He's really the only guy in the bullpen that's kind of not doing his job super great. Everybody else has been pretty good, despite having some walk issues. They've been pretty okay. Waguespack has not been great. So it seems like maybe some roles are going to start getting redefined in the bullpen, and that's kind of something I'm keeping my eye on going forward. Is like when Alexander's spot comes back up next week, what are they going to do? They tried it once with an opener. They tried it once with a traditional start, and it kind of had the same result. He looked really good in spring training. Maybe this next start will be really good. I have no idea. It's maybe unfair to judge him on a core start. So I'm going to wait to judge it fully. But I am curious. He's one of the guys that I'm watching. His starts I'm watching just to see kind of what are we getting from him and what might the adjustments be as guys start to get healthy.
Yeah, I mean, the way we got to look at the Alexander Waguespack is technically this is like the 10th spot of the rotation because Bars, Bradley, Rasmussen, Springs, McClanahan, Eflin, Littell, Savali, Pepio would all start ahead of him, and that's 9.
Yeah.
So they're like the 10th spot in the rotation, really.
That's some really good perspective.
I think, they wouldn't be doing this unless we were, this banged up. Just remember how banged up we are, okay? Yeah. Rotation-wise. It's such a shame that people like Odorizzi and the other guys down in Durham aren't really lighting any fires up and kind of like making a case to come up and take his spot. I guess we just got to wait and see. His next start is lined up to be against the Giants at the Trop. So we'll see, I guess. I think that's going to be a
Yeah.
big start for him, because if he still isn't putting it together, then you've got to ask questions. You've got to ask definitive questions. 3 starts, none of them have worked. You got to go, hold on, is there something better we could be doing with this spot in the rotation, even if it's just a traditional bullpen day? Who knows?
Yeah, and I think that the thing that I like about the way they've been doing things, even if maybe the results haven't been exactly what we're looking for, is they are limiting the amount of innings the bullpen is having to pitch, and I do like that. I mean, they've been really trying to stick with letting their starters go for 5 to 6 innings and giving as few innings as possible to the bullpen, and I really do like that. Odorizzi is a name that before the year thought would be in the mix. He started today for Durham and only went an inning and a third, gave up 3 runs, 2 walks, 3 hits. So that it doesn't look like maybe reinforcements are coming from that place, at least not right now. So we may still be looking at a couple more Alexander starts. And again, in that perspective, like he is not preventing you from winning the game. He is not putting you in a scenario where you cannot win the game. To me, if a pitcher goes out there and gives up 4 runs, that's not great, but you can still win the baseball game if that happens. If you have good performances from the offense and good performances from the bullpen, which you can expect to have pretty frequently from the Rays, because they have good performers in both those areas. It's when a guy goes out and gives up 6 runs, then you're kind of like, well, winning a game under that scenario might be tough. But Alexander hasn't lost you any games yet. So
no, he's not won you any games.
No, he's not won you any games either. So, but at the same, but if your 5th starter is winning you games, you're in really good shape as an organization. I think really what you want is for your 5th starter to not lose you any games. So that's kind of what he's been doing so far, and I'm kind of okay with that for now. But I am just curious to see how his role will develop when guys start to get healthy.
Yeah, I agree on that. Okay, let's move on to the Texas series, where we lost the first game 9-3, won the second game 5-2, and then dropped the rubber game 4-1. Any prevailing thoughts on the Rangers series?
The biggest one for me is just, can we get a start where we get the middle 4 innings from Pepiot? Is that what we're going to get today? I hope so, because first inning gave up 3 runs, not great. Last inning didn't make it all the way through the inning, gave up 3 runs, not great. Middle 4, pretty good, against a really, really good Texas Rangers lineup, who their 5th and 6th holes populated by Wyatt Langford, who's like one of the number 1 prospects in baseball and hitting the cover off the baseball. That's the kind of quality of a lineup that the Rangers are putting out there, and I'm definitely gonna. And that was not a secret plug to the Gators. It was a surface plug to the Gators. Go Gators! I am just curious how he's going to bounce back from that, because it is a tough second start for him now in Coors. I would have loved, I think if you just could have set it up the way you would have liked it to, I would have loved to give him another start at the Trop after his first start. But to go on the road to Coors in a series where the winds have been blowing and it's been a wild series, it's going to be interesting to see how he does. I believe he can make it happen and have a really good start, but it's not ideal. So I just want to see what would it look like to get a start where we get a performance out of Pepiot that's closer to those first 4, those middle 4 innings than to the first and the 6th inning from him.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, it was just kind of a shame that in the Texas series, that rubber game, we got a really good start out of Savali, and it just, the bullpen couldn't keep, but also that we got shut down by Nate Eovaldi, and that feels like that happens a lot as well. He seems to have there's certain pitchers that just absolutely have our number, and he is one of those guys. It feels like every time I see him.
We traded him and he took it personal, I guess.
Yeah, after we rehabbed him. Don't forget, we rehabbed him after that second TJ.
No gratitude.
He was really good for like 3 weeks, and then we traded him to Boston, and then he won the World Series. And
so why is he mad at us? Listen, we made you better, and we sent you off to win a World Series, and you're mad at us? Like, what's going? Like, I think that's super unfair. I think he owes us like a couple blow up starts for that. To be honest,
right? Exactly. When we see you in the ALDS, Nate Eovaldi, you owe us. You owe us a 2 innings pitched, 6 runs allowed.
Seriously. I mean, That's how I feel anyway. It was unfortunate to lose that series at home. You would like to win at home most of the time. I think like you'd like to win at least 60-70% of your series at home, if not more. You just want to win series at home. But again, the series we lost was to the World Series champion Texas Rangers, who are not dealing with significant injuries the way that the Rays are right now. So it just kind of is what it is. I don't think it's a statement on how the Rays can play against that top competition overall. I think it's just it's a tough first or second series of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, do you want to say anything about this Rockies series?
It's like literally my notes is just what even are these games? Like what even is this baseball we are watching? It's complete nonsense. The Rays have been down like 6-1 in back-to-back games. They came back to lead in both of them and they lost one. So like what even is going on out here? The umps are terrible. They've been really, really bad. The wind is blowing. It's complete nonsense. It's chaos ball. It's fun to watch, but you cannot make any generalizing statements. I am very grateful that I am not a Rockies fan. Sorry, Erica. But I wouldn't want to be a Rockies fan because how can you judge anybody off of what goes on in that stadium? Like seriously.
Right? I was thinking the exact same thing. I think being a Rockies fan must be like one of the weirdest sports experiences you could possibly have.
Yeah.
But yeah, chaos ball is right. I don't think you can draw any conclusions from this series. Really, all you got to do is just like, hey, this is going to be chaos ball, and today is no different. It'd be nice if we can come away and win it. What's weird is, you know how I always say you're due 50 losses and you've got 50 guaranteed wins across the season. Yeah. It felt like that first game was going to be a guaranteed loss, and then it ended up being a tight one. And then the other one also felt like it was going to be a guaranteed loss, and then we won that one. So, like, can we have one of the guaranteed wins that feels like a guaranteed win?
That would be nice.
Can Dakota Hudson, like, have a terrible start, please? That'd be nice. Can we just have, like, a chill, easy game? Like, a nice, like, 6-1 kind of just chill game? Because I feel like the Rays haven't had, like, a chill win since game 2 of the series.
Yeah.
Game 2 of the season.
Game 2 of the season. Yeah. It's been a wild couple games, and it, that's baseball. You're going to wish for, calm games occasionally, but listen, the cardiac Rays are never out of a game. So even though it may not be fun to like be worried that you're going to lose for most of the game because it's just been that way, the cardiac Rays are never out of the game, and that's really fun. It's fun to watch a team that no matter how bad it gets, the Rays are never fully out of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I want to do a study. I think I'm gonna try and like figure out if there's a reason why like the most like bang average starting pitchers will throw 6 innings, 1 run allowed, 10 strikeouts, but then the moment the bullpen come in, the Rays are like, right, let's go put up a 5 spot.
Seriously.
I don't know how that works. I thought they're supposed to get better against pitchers with familiarity, but as soon as like a bullpenner comes in, they're like, now we start. Now it's the 7th. Now it's the 8th. Now we're going to start scoring runs. They did this a lot last year as well. It's really weird. I don't know how that works. I don't know if it's just like they lock in not to a pitcher, but just to an approach in the box. I don't know. I'm going to have to like look into it and see if I can get more info for it next week.
If you're out there right now and you're looking at your wardrobe and you're saying, I'm not doing well. I'm struggling. I need to take out my starting rotation, of outfits, and because they're not doing what I want them to do. And you need to go to the bullpen. You need to bring in a closer. Well, I've got it for you. Shop.rblrsports.com, where you can get 10% off everything you'd ever want to buy there. The best Tampa Bay sports merch is not only there for you, it is also there for you for 10% off with promo code FLAPPY, FLAPPY. 10% off everything there. It's the best Tampa Bay sports gear out there. You've got Rays, you've got Bucks, you've got Lightning, you've got Rowdies, all of which have very interesting stuff happening right now. The Rays are getting into the season. The Rowdies are just starting their season. The Lightning have secured a playoff spot, but what seeding in the playoffs? And the Bucks are leading up to the draft. Now is the time to get you some awesome Tampa Bay sports gear at shop.rblrsports.com.
And you will feel a mile high, just like our Rays will in about 10 minutes when the first pitch in the rubber game of this series happens. Not my best work.
Yeah, you know what? It was great. Let's talk about some in addition to how great that segue was, we're going to also talk about some great bats and some great arms for this week. Pat, who is your bat of the week?
Is got to be the aforementioned team leader in WRC Plus. He put up a 243 WRC Plus this week. It is our third baseman in honor of WrestleMania, Isaac Paredes. We can see him, and you're our bat of the week. He was awesome. He's been awesome all week. He got off to a bit of a slow start in the first couple games, but since then he's hit 3 home runs. He's drove in 7. He's doing a fun, and he's made some really nice plays in the field actually as well, which is something that we didn't really talk about Paredes historically, but he's really feeling really comfortable at the hot corner this season as well. So it's great to see him just continuing to pick up where he left off last week. Season.
Yeah, week season. He's been really good. He's been consistent, and that's something that we have not had from a lot of our guys to start the year. He's my bat of the week too. He's been consistent. He's pulling balls the way he always does and probably always will. I love that every time he hits a home run, they put up the stat line of him hitting every single home run to left field. I don't know what I'm going to do if he ever hits a home run to right or to center. I think the world's going to just cease to exist at that point if one goes out to center or to right. But he is kind of anchoring this lineup right now, which we talked about that he has the potential to do that. We both think he's really, really good and think he could get even better. And we're kind of seeing that right now. He's anchoring a lineup that needs one right now. Yanni's been really good to start the season too. Don't get me wrong. I think he's sitting at a 133 WRC plus. He's been great, but Isak has provided the power. He's been kind of the catalyst. Like, he hasn't been the guy to drive in the run to take the lead, but he's been the guy to start to move the run scoring in the right direction several times for these couple of wins that we've been able to scratch across. He's out there. He's scoring runs. He's doing what we want to see from him, and he's living up to the hype that we've kind of hyped him up to be as one of the best third basemen in baseball. The defense, like you said, has been really, really good. I think it won't be too long until people really start to have to talk about Isaac Paredes as a top third baseman in baseball.
Yeah, I think that this could be a year where he could be getting some all-star nods. We could be hopefully getting him on the all-star team. That'd be awesome. I'd love that for him. So yeah, we've got a split decision on the arm of the week this week. Who's your arm of the week?
So my arm of the week is the guy that we have been talking about all off season as someone that we think is going to take a big step forward. It's someone that's being put in a position that maybe none of us expected, but every time he's been put in this position, he has excelled, and that's Zach Littell. He has had 2 starts so far, 2 starts over the last week. He had his first 2 starts, and he has pitched excellently. 100% win-loss record, which is awesome, even though wins don't matter. Won both of his games. He has allowed 1 run so far, which is insane. He has allowed no home runs, obviously, because he's allowed no runs. He's allowed 1 run, but he hasn't allowed any home runs. He's not striking guys out at a crazy clip, but he's also not walking guys. He's only walked 2 guys so far, averaging about 5.5 walks per start. He's pitching to an ERA plus right now of 4.41, which is a bonkers number that is just crazy to even say out loud. He is living up to our expectations of what we thought he could be to be coming into the season, and then some. I don't know how long this run of excellence is going to continue. He may come back to the mean a little bit, but he's just been really, really good to start the season. He's been everything we could have imagined. Zach Littell is my arm of the week.
He's been awesome, and to do it in Coors as well, extra impressive. But I will say it probably benefited him to be in Coors, but as a kind of ground ball, soft contact kind of guy, I think keeping the ball on the ground is something you'd want to do in that environment, because fly balls with that wind and that air density, I don't even want to think about it. My arm of the week. It's happened again. Aaron Savali's the arm of the week, the RBL arm, for me anyway. He went for another start against this crazy stacked and crazy dangerous Texas Rangers lineup. Only pitched 6 innings, gave up just 1 run, struck out 8. It was a solo shot that he gave up, was his only blemish, really. He's fantastic. He is doing fantastically. The first 2 starts of the season, pretty much identical lines against two really good lineups. I told you. I told you. And, I can't wait to tell you all next week when he pitches against the Angels and then throws 7 shutout with 12 strikeouts. And we'll be back again. I genuinely, this offseason, told you all, but like the thing that I told you about was that the peripherals since joining the Rays were really good. He was still giving up lots of soft contact. He was giving up lots of soft contact that was falling, which is something that was due for regression. His batting average on ball and play was higher than what it should have been given the quality of contact he was giving up, and his strikeout numbers were way up, and he was still maintaining his really low walk numbers. So all the numbers under the hood were better than when he was really good when we acquired him from Cleveland. He actually got better when coming to the Rays, but the results just weren't there. So I just figured he was due for those results to kind of yield greater fruit, given some better luck and a fresh slate on a new season. And that's what he's done so far. So Aaron Savali, proud of you. Keep it up. Can't wait for you to be the arm of the week next week.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough choice this week. I mean, Littell had 2 starts, so I went that way, and I'm really excited about him. But it's just impossible to argue with what Savali has done so far. It's tough that he got that loss in the Rangers series because he really didn't deserve it. He pitched fantastically. I'm kind of blown away, honestly, by the starters between Littell and Savali. They were kind of put in a situation where I don't think even they thought they would be. I don't think Littell and Savali thought they would be the 2 and 3 starters coming into this season. I just didn't think that was going to happen. And I don't think that's what they thought when they originally got moved over here. I think they thought they were probably going to be Littell in the bullpen and Savali kind of a back end of the rotation starter. And they've been pushed into a very vital role for this team, being kind of stoppers. And they have stepped up and been excellent. They have stepped up to the call. They have provided some of the best pitching that we've had in this young season as Rays fans. And it's really fun to watch. And it's also fun to be right. I'm not going to lie, because we told you they were going to be great, and they've been great. Also a shout out to Zach Eflin, who had a great bounce back start from his first opening day start, which was not great. Bounced back against a really tough Texas Rangers lineup. Bounced back and was great. He's an honorable mention for Arm of the Week.
Yes, and also big shout out to Jason Adam and Colin Poche after the bad outings that they had in game 1 of the Rocky series, and then Cash went right back to him and said, "I still believe in you. Go shut him down in game 2," and that's what they did. They slammed the door on the comeback win. So that was also great to see.
Yep, and it's just another great example of why I am not a manager, because I love Jason Adam and Colin Poche, but even I may not have gone back to them right after they just had a terrible day. But Kevin Cash did, because he believes in his guys. He knows what he's got. The quote he gave after the game was, in the 9th, with Fairbanks not being available, there was no other thought in his mind other than Poche to get the 9th. And he went out there and showed you exactly why Cash felt that way. So anytime that I ever think to question the bullpen management from Cash, he does some things and we get some outcomes that just make me want to never, ever think about questioning it, because it's clear that he knows his team very well. He always seems to find a way to put the right guys out there, even when you may not get the results that you want. He trusts his guys. He puts his faith in them. And that's why over a full season, we get the high quality bullpen results that we have always gotten as Rays fans.
Absolutely. I've got the Rays game is just starting, so I don't want to keep us too much longer. I've just got 2 little miscellaneous thoughts. Oh, thanks for the talk, guys. Enjoy the game. You too, man.
You too.
Got 2 little miscellaneous thoughts to wrap up on. The first one is this is the first, I think after this Rockies game, is the first opportunity the Rays have to make non-injury related roster moves. Do you expect them to do any shuffling with the roster after the game today?
Not really. I mean, there's a chance that Shenton, that they may make a move down to Durham, but I don't even really know who they'd bring up. So
Mangum, maybe
Mangum. But I mean, Siri's been great, and they really haven't had any issues with outfield. Palacios has been nice in the outfield. He's not been amazing, but he's been good. I don't really feel like there's a need to go get Mangum, even though he's been really good offensively. I feel like you just kind of let him cook down there and let him do his thing, and maybe bring him up after he's got some more time, because I don't want to just sit him back on the bench and let him cool off. So I don't think so, at least not right now. I would have said if Jake Odorizzi had pitched really well today, that there maybe is a chance we could see him come up to the majors and maybe make a start. But after the way he pitched today, probably not. I don't know. I really don't think so.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think Mangum, maybe Nico Goodrum, maybe like if you want to make a like for like switch, you switch Shenton up for Dom Smith, maybe.
Maybe. He's been pretty good to start the year in Durham. Dom Smith has.
So, but again, I think it really depends on how much they value Shenton getting reps, which he hasn't really got.
Yeah.
He's starting today, but he's not really got much time on the roster. Get playing time while on the roster. So we'll just see if they actually value him getting reps or not. And then the only other thought that I have is Rotvet. I think he's been playing more than Pinto now so far this year. Is that an indicator on how they value Rotvet or how they value Pinto?
I don't think so. I think it's just a situation where Cash is going to play the hot bat. This kind of branches nicely into the player that I'm kind of watching this week, which is Harold, because my thing is, I agree with you. I've seen the same thing. The Rortvet's getting a lot of starts. I'm starting to wonder if those starts, instead of being taken away from Pinto, might start to be being taken away from Harold in the DH position. If Rortvet might get some starts in DH, because he's been red hot to start the year. It's kind of hard to take a red hot bat out of the lineup. And Pinto is basically league average as a bat, which is all we really need him to be because he's excellent behind the plate. Rortvet has looked kind of shaky behind the plate at times. He's been good at times, shaky at times. Pinto's definitely better. I wonder if we might finally start to see Harold stop getting at bats. And I also wonder if by me saying that, he will start to hit to a 200 WRC plus clip right after I say that, because that's what always seems to happen. But it is something that I'm watching because I agree with you. It has been odd.
Yeah, especially considering how we and the organization hyped up Pinto so much throughout the offseason and in spring training is, hey, the reason we got rid of Bethancourt was to give him the keys. He's going to be the guy who's going to be getting the majority of time at catcher. And I know catcher is a demanding position. Even the best catchers will only play about 66% of their games. Because it's a nightmare to catch. It's really physically demanding. But Rotvet seems to be getting the more starts. I don't know if that's purely on just he's the better bat or if there's something that they're seeing in him defensively as well. So the time will tell, and we will see if he gets some DH at bats, what happens with Harold. But I think, unless you've got anything you want to add, that will do it for today.
Yeah, the last thing just to mention before we go is that from an injury perspective, Walls they believe he's progressing decently and he is he's on track with his rehab and should start taking at bats soon. But again, same thing with him and with J-Lo. Once they do start actually taking at bats, they're going to need basically not a full spring training, but pretty close to like get back into the groove of things before they're starting at the major league level again. So they're still a little bit out on them. Boz had a small setback in his rehab. They don't think it's anything crazy, but we are starting to look more like mid-June than late May for him to start, getting back into things. So that's just something to kind of keep an eye on. Bilal, they thought he might be hurt a little bit. He seems to be fine. Twisted his ankle again yesterday, but he seems to be fine. So no worries there. But that's the only other thing I had is just we get a couple of guys. Nobody's really close to coming back yet, but we haven't heard anything like really bad about any of them either. So I just kind of assume no news is good news for now.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty. Well, that's going to do it for this week's show. Basically, don't hit the panic button. Just enjoy some Rays baseball, which is on right now. If you've been watching the live show, you can now go and just change the channel over to Bally Sports or MLB TV and go watch the Rays beat the Rockies. Hopefully, if you've enjoyed what you've seen, be sure to give us a like, a follow, a subscribe, depending on where you are viewing us. We really appreciate it. It really helps us out, and it means that you can follow the season with us and get notifications whenever we go live. Thanks again for chiming in and giving us your comments and all sorts. We appreciate you, and see you next time. Raise up.
Raise up.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLI Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.